Yes, girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it is in
We'll
4
start?
or 4. Yeah, whatever you want.
All
Today,
right.
today I'm reporting to you, whatever you people decide. We'll have fun.
Okay, ma'am.
Huh,
Sounds good. Sounds great.
huh,
Okay then. So let's start.
hmm.
So good evening, everyone, and happy Dasra. We thank you all for taking your time out today and joining us for our talk by our esteemed guest for today, Mrs. Sudha Murthy. So before we begin, I'd like to give a brief introduction. Mrs. Sudha Murthy was born in 1950 in Shigao, Haveri district in North Karnataka.
Beta, 1915, it looks like that, okay?
No, it does not show. We promise you, ma'am. It is just a number.
Okay.
She completed her engineering from BBB College of Engineering, and she obtained first rank across all branches and received a gold medal from the Institute of Engineers. She did her ME from Indian Institute of Science with distinction and started her career as an engineer with Telco. Today, she is the chairperson of Infosys Foundation and has helped tremendously in disaster mitigation over the last 24 years. She studied in a Kannada medium school till 10th standard and fell in love with the language. Her strong ties to the language and its people led to her establish more than 60,000 libraries in Karnataka. She also strongly believes in creating awareness for social causes and has passionately traveled the world for this purpose. A prolific writer in English and Kannada, her books have been translated into all major Indian languages and have sold over 30 lakh copies around the country. She is a columnist for Indian and Kannada dailies with 30 books and more than 200 titles to her credit, including novels, non-fiction, children's books, travelogues, technical books, and memoirs. She has also received 9 honorary doctorates. Some of her awards include the R.K. Narayan Award for Literature, the Padma Shri in 2006, the Atimabe Award from the Government of Karnataka for Excellence in Kannada Literature in 2011, and the Lifetime Achievement by Crossword Book Awards in 2018. She lives by the belief that the generosity of a few is hope for millions. So, with those words, I'd like to invite Mrs. Sudha Murthy. Ma'am, the floor is all yours.
Hello, namaste, and good evening. It is nice to interact with the youngsters because I feel young by induction method. So let us start. Ask the questions. I will try to answer as much as possible. Is it okay, kids?
Sure, ma'am. So, everyone, I think the best way to go about this is that if you guys put a Q in the chat box, and we'll call upon you to ask your question. And then Sudhamurthy ma'am can answer your question, and then we can, proceed with the talk and hear and have all your questions answered, basically.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyone questions? Or maybe I can start with one if that's possible.
Yeah.
Okay. So, ma'am, what motivated you to? So you were first an engineer. So, what motivated you to choose engineering, a profession not very common with women at that point of time?
Yeah, it is 1968. So imagine 68. Any woman going to engineering is something. They think there's something wrong in her brain. Very unusual because in a small town like Hubli, nobody ever thought about that. But I liked applied science, and the best applied science is engineering, so I took it. Okay. Huh.
Okay, so we have one from Aditya Singh. Aditya Singh, why don't you unmute yourself and ask the question?
Yeah, very good afternoon, ma'am. I want to ask a question that why is your preference about writing always so much about simple stories that surround everyone's lives? Like, as a writer, didn't your imagination ever feel let's write something very supernatural or something very much more interesting?
Yeah, I will tell you the reason. Actually, it's a good question. The reason is like science fiction. People write science fiction. I always observe life around me, and I get strength by observing people around me and their difficulties, their solutions, their struggle, and that makes me to write. It is not that I plan in that way. That makes me to write because I am in the society, and societal problems are more important to me. I don't make an effort, I should write like this or like that. It comes to me automatically. So what I have seen, you may also might have noticed, all my books actually starts with somewhere a base in Karnataka, Dharwad district. because I was born and brought up in Hubli. So always it has to appear in all my books. If it is a novel, somewhere a few lines, a few paragraphs, or origin or end, or somewhere, the rains, the Dharwad, the Hubli, that region of North Karnataka always appear because it's very dear to my heart.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
Anyone else, guys? Questions? Please feel free to ask. Don't be shy.
Okay.
Okay, so Samita has a question. Samita, go ahead.
So my question to you is, you were an engineer, you are an engineer. Like, how was the transition from an engineer to a writer? Like, how did you do it?
Writing is different, engineering is different. Writing is something which is very passionate to me. It started like a hobby to me when I was in school. And when I was in a teenage, I used to write for papers, newspapers in those days. And I went on writing, but it became a lot more when I started foundation, because I would meet so many people. When I meet people, then I realized everybody has a story to tell. Okay, everything is a story. So it became more, my writing came much more later part of my life. So with engineering precision, actually I do much better, because I'm not a lazy person. So when I take up an assignment, I'll complete, I will revise, in the sense, like suppose there's an engineering project or a computer program. How do? We write the pseudocode, we write the program, we check it in olden days, okay? Then you do the test or a dry run, and then you give. Same way I do with my stories or my writing. So checking grammatically or the situation nearest to the reality, all those things, and then I give. It has made me very efficient writer, actually. Yeah.
Okay, so next up we have Kaushik. Kaushik, go ahead.
Very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, if I'm not wrong, you are the first female engineer to get hired at Telco. So how was your experience there, ma'am?
It was actually, I learned a lot there, more than the university. How you should be nice, good to your employees, how you should be generous, and what are the work ethics. All those things I learned with Tata, and I have a great respect for them, because up in a work there are many ways to work, okay? But the good work ethics and helping poor people, caring for the employees, all those things I have learned in House of Tatas. It was a great experience. Yeah.
Ma'am, so how was the experience? Like you were the only female there. So was it
later the girls came, but initially people did not like it, because it was in the year 1974. Your parents were not even born at that time. So it's almost 46 years back. It was a 25 plus 27, 46 years back. So when I worked in Jamshedpur or something, like people used to look at how a girl can be on a shop floor, how can she work with boys, men, how can she operate a machine. It was very unusual scene for them. But over a period of time, they learned that women can be technically sound, women can work like men.
So how did you face those criticism at the time?
See, whenever there is anything new, people criticize. Whenever something new, people don't like it. Whenever something is unusual, people think there's something wrong. But as long as you know they are right things, then you should not worry. And that is what I did. I knew what I'm doing was right. It was legally, ethically right. So I continued to do that. It was not easy. People used to all the time observe you, make comments on you. But you will learn. I said, let them talk. But I know what I am inside. So let me learn. Let me do what I want to do. Anything you do first time, people do make a comment. You have seen, not only me, the pilots, the lady pilots, or the IPA, or Kiran Bedi, the first IPS officer, everyone, whosoever the first, they always will feel that heat or friction, everything.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It was very nice, ma'am, that you have paved a way for so many other women to come after you.
Suppose my dad used to tell me, suppose you don't behave well, then they say, oh, girls are of no use. So other girls will not hire any other girl. So if your behavior will decide the road for the next girls and you behave well. Okay.
Very true. Yes, ma'am. That's very true. Okay,
yeah.
thank you. So I think Sai has a question. Sai, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah. Good afternoon, ma'am. So I had a question. Like we see the thing of like the language barrier that you also highlight in your story.
No, I'm not getting.
Background noise from somebody.
Can I request everyone to mute themselves except for Sudha ma'am and I think, okay, Prashant, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you.
Ma'am, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the issue of language barriers, the one you highlight in your story of how I taught my grandmother to read, how she didn't know and you teach her. So basically, many people are averse to learning languages. Like they don't want to learn different languages. So they are against some uniform languages that everybody should learn. So what is your take on that? How can the problem of language barriers be solved? And is it bad if somebody doesn't want to learn a uniform languages everybody want to learn? Like everybody
actually, I'll tell you, learning language is a boon, I consider. Because knowing a language makes you to understand that culture. Like, I am basically a Kannada person, but I stayed in Maharashtra. I knew Marathi, basically. I enjoyed my stay in Maharashtra because I can understand their language, I can read their literature, I can participate in their cultural activity, I can know another culture. Language, all of us are like islands, and language is like a bridge. Language is a bridge, and as many languages as you know, it really helps you to understand different cultures. And actually, for me, knowing the languages, I can see a lot more that language movies. I am Sai. I think you are a Telugu fellow. Am I right?
No, ma'am. I'm from Odisha.
You're from Odisha. Actually, there is an article I wrote. My first project was in Orissa. The day I stopped drinking milk, it happened in Orissa. Because, I understand Oriya a lot more. I mean, I understand Oriya, but I cannot speak. But whatever you talk, I can understand. Because I worked there in the hills, in the tribal area, etc. So it happened that, I was understanding they were talking about me. I could understand it. They did not know that I am understanding it. I had a lot of fun there, actually. So if you have any time, you read that the day I stopped drinking milk, my experience in Orissa, and I realized that, what it is to be poor and... I don't drink tea, coffee, and you read that. That is my experience in Nilachala, actually.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's very important, actually, because, knowing a language can open so many cultural barriers, can introduce you to so many.
Yeah. It is fun, no?
Absolutely.
And see, I'm a Kannada person, but if I speak, even though it's bad Telugu people feel it's so nice, and it connects people. When you talk to people in their language, even though you make grammatical mistake, they all like it. They appreciate it. Yeah. Better learn. What is there? As much, the day you stop learning, you become old.
So, ma'am, how many languages are you able to converse in?
Like I can speak definitely my mother tongue, Kannada, Marathi, very, very well. Then Hindi, some extent Urdu, English, okay? But I understand Oriya, Telugu I manage, I understand Bengali, I understand Gujarati very well, very well. Good. People write to me, Sudha Ben, you look like a prosperous Gujarati lady. How come you are married to a South Indian? I said, no, I'm a South Indian, but my translator is a good Gujarati lady. Okay, so Gujarati I understand very well. Bengali, yes. Oriya, yes. Konkani, I can manage to talk and understand 100%. What else is there? Telugu I understand very well. To some extent I can talk. Tamil, to some extent I can talk, but I understand. I think so. That's suppose these many languages I know.
And you are an Indian in the true sense then.
Because I work in different states, no? So language is very important to me. And, if you have time, you read that the day I stopped drinking milk, there is a conversation between husband and wife in Odia language, actually, about me. Because I don't drink tea and coffee. So he asked me, by sign language, do you want to drink tea? I said, no. You want to eat fish? I'm a vegetarian. I said, no. Do you want, do you want to drink milk? Though I don't like milk much. I said, okay, because every time if I say no, then people get offended. They feel I don't want to eat in their house or drink in their house. Then he told his wife to give some milk to her, and she said, that lady has a gray hair but no brain. She never knew that I was understanding their conversation. And she told her, we are poor people, I have a glass of milk, and which I kept it for my child. If I give it to this old lady, what I will give to my child? He said, no, the old lady is a good lady. Give half of the milk and add water to that. Doesn't matter. So this conversation was going on, and I understood 100%. Then I said, no, today is a fasting day. My friend came by that time. He said, why? Because it was a Wednesday, and Wednesday nobody fast. Monday for Shiva, Tuesday for Mata Vaishnav Devi, Friday for Mahalakshmi, Saturday for Venkatramana and Maruti. And there are many gods are there occupying each day. Wednesday nobody occupied. Then I didn't remember which god because I was lying. It's a white lie. I told, oh, this is for Buddha. And then I realized I'm so expensive for poor people. I should not drink milk anywhere. And that I have written the day I stopped drinking milk. This is only because I can understand Odia language very well. And that they never knew that I understand because they are conversing in front of me only. It happens a lot to me. People think I'm a South Indian, so they think, oh, they don't understand. But I understand North Indian languages because I can speak in Sanskrit. That helps me a lot.
Very interesting, ma'am. Okay, so next up we have Raghavendra Jorapur with a question.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Are you from Raghavendra? Are you from Bijapur?
Yes, ma'am.
Or your ancestors are from
Ma'am, I'm actually his son speaking.
Place. Which Jorapur? I know lots of.
Mail ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೆ ನಾನು ನನ್ನ ಅಜ್ಜಿ ಕಥೆ ಪುಸ್ತಕ ಬರ್ದಿದ್ದೆ ಒಂದು ನನ್ನ ಅಜ್ಜಿ ನನಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ ಕಥೆ ಹೇಳೋದು
No, I won't. Because what happens when I get 400 emails a day? I won't remember. But there is a gully known as the Jorapur Gully in Bijapur. Okay, tell me. Raghavendra Jorapur is typical of Kannada name. Okay. Tell me.
So,
where are you staying Jorapur now? You are in Pune?
I am in Pune right now.
Tell me.
So, ma'am, my question is that we keep hearing that the quality of education in India is going down. And we can also see that unemployment is on the rise. So, is that true? Like when you were in engineering college and the engineers that you see graduating now, is there a difference between them?
Beta, I'm 70 years old. I became engineer at 21 years old. You know, what is the difference? Almost 50 years have passed. Okay, 50 years, lot of water is flown. At my time, number of engineers graduating from Karnataka maybe around 400 or 500. That's all. Today, in one college, more than 500 people graduate. Only there are 3 or 4 engineering colleges. Altogether, there is about 400, 500 engineering is to graduate, and each one used to get 3 to 4 jobs. People used to prefer to join government jobs because PWD, they used to call MSCB, Mysore State Electricity Board, all those government jobs people used to join, or or they will come to Pune and join like me, Telco, etc. Today things have changed. You have a lot of opportunity. Also, you have a lot of competition. Both, but opportunities are much more today because it's not only just civil, electrical, mechanical. You have a lot more now. You have detail like instrumentation, computer science, then electronics. There are so many variations have come, and number of people are also more. Number of jobs are also more. So one should never compare, saying that in those days life was good and now it is not good. No, nothing. Every generation has their own difficulties, their own advantage. So your generation has a lot of advantage of opportunities, knowledge, and competition, all. But I think if you are doing well, you can always get a job. If you are technically competent, you can always get a job, because even today, NASSCOM says computer science engineers, out of 100, 75% are unemployable because they are just degree they have in computer science. They don't have basic knowledge. They do not know communication English. They do not know how to express their feeling. They do not know the basics of computer science, but they have a degree. So person who has a good knowledge, there is no dearth for him or her to get jobs. Yes, next one.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The next one is from Tanishka.
I thought Tanishka jewelry is from. Yeah, Tanishka.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, my question is that since you said that you started writing at a very early age, so even after having a job and working, did you continue to write?
Yes, I continued to write, but I used to write one, probably much less compared to what I write, because I had a job to look after. Then Infosys started. I had 2 children. I had to run the house, so it was not that easy. But I used to write. But I started writing a lot more after 1996 when Infosys Foundation started. I started meeting different types of people from A to Z. Prostitutes, politicians, film actors, great leaders and prime ministers. So, and working in rural areas. So my canvas became so large, I started writing.
Yeah, actually I asked because usually when you start working, whatever creativity you have, it kind of curbs a little bit, and it's very difficult to maintain both of the things. So
it is not possible, because what is your aim? To be, writing is not your aim. Suppose I know when I was a student, my aim is to do my engineering very well, learn the subject, apply for a job, and get the job, because the priorities change. And again, the priorities change after a certain age. When you are young, your priorities, like, you should get a good job, you should earn money, you should know a skill, you should have a skill, then you'll be able to transit from one company to another company. All those things will be there. But when you attain that one, then you think of your hobbies. And the more and more, in my case, it started when I was 45, 46.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next.
Okay, ma'am. So, you seem to be playing a good game with guessing where people are from based on their surnames. That's quite fun.
Yeah.
You're quite good at it too. Anyway.
Actually, I will tell you a very funny thing. Since 24, 25 years, I'm on the ground working for poor people. I can tell you which state does the best social work. For example, the best social work in India today is Gujarat is number 1. They always.
So in what basis, ma'am? How will you measure that?
On my experience.
Okay.
On the projects which I have seen, Gujarat is number 1. They are more socially conscious because there is a reason behind that. Mahatma Gandhi, Mahadev Desai, Vallabhbhai Patel, such people came from Gujarat. And you cannot make out who is rich or who is poor in Gujarat. I've seen you wear simple cotton sari, but you do not know they may be millionaires, you do not know. Their social consciousness is very high. And that is one state where people are extremely progressive in social work. I'm talking only my subject. Next state is Maharashtra. The reason is there also people are extremely social, concerned and sensitive, because Jyotiba Phule, Agarkar, Mahadev Ranade, great social work, Vinoba Bhave, social workers came from that state. So what happens, it is very funny. Children, you should understand, when your state produces great people, they become your role model. And when they become role model, in life you want to follow them when you are young. For example, in Karnataka produced very good cricketers. And that is the reason Karnataka now is famous for good cricketers, because Prasanna was there, Gundappa Vishwanath was there, then Rahul Dravid was there, Robin Uthappa was there. So then you know what it is actually, what means cricket, how our own person in the same lane or same gully or same state, they do well, then you get motivated. The motivations come from your own people. And that I have seen very good in Maharashtra. So some state has that. So I can tell you, when I close my eyes, I can tell you if this is Karnataka, how people will behave. If it's the North Karnataka, how people will behave. If it is Tamil Nadu, how people will behave. Because it has given me a lot of experience on the ground level. Most of the time I may be correct, sometimes I may be wrong as well. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. So, ma'am, actually, I would like to just, if no one minds, I'd like to cut to some YouTube questions that we're getting, and we'll go back to the Zoom questions after that. So,
Okay.
yes, ma'am. So, Dakshesh Vasan is asking, ma'am, I've heard you talk on the use of simple language, and you've also been an engineer and thus gone through our education system. In that light, what are your views on the NEP's recommendation of usage of mother language in of the mother tongue in schools?
You want to put me into controversy or what better?
That was the plan, ma'am.
I won't get caught, don't worry. The decision of what language one has to learn is left to the parents, not to us. I never make such a decision. Who are the stakeholders? Parents are the stakeholders when children are young. So let the parents decide what they want. I am not deciding that. Okay?
Okay, ma'am, fine. Ma'am, one more question from YouTube is Harshit Jain is asking, with the interdisciplinary approach, what are your views on which government aims to achieve? The interdisciplinary approach that government aims to achieve. What are your views on that?
Children, I want to tell you something. I don't like to talk about government or politics or anything because that is beyond me. I don't have any say in such things. And wherever I don't have a say, I don't want to talk and give my free opinion. Connected with my work, connected with my life, connected with my writing, you ask, I will tell. What is government approach and all? I don't want to get into because they have experts, they will reply. I'm not an expert on government policies. Yes, next.
Fair enough, ma'am. So we also have a question from Vijay Shri Zorapur, who says, ma'am, are you happy with the journey from engineer, social worker, writer, and what are you aiming next?
Actually, my nature is like whatever I get, I try to maximize in that and be happy. Happiness is never bought with money. Happiness is not in the syllabus. Happiness is not in the books. Happiness is not in what you think achievement is happiness. It's not that. Happiness is, whatever, in my definition, whatever you get, in that you should maximize. And that is my happiness, and that I'm very happy.
That's great to know, ma'am. Okay, so next up we have Bela. So Bela, why don't you unmute yourself and ask?
Bela Lodha.
Yes, hello, ma'am.
Kolkata.
I'm from Maharashtra.
Yeah? Okay.
I wanted to ask you that considering you are into so many activities, social activities, as well as the technical professional kind of activities, how do you manage time? Or more than anything, how
I finish a meeting, then I'll be with my dog. So situations change, like a frame changes in a movie. And over a period of time, you learn to manage that. How I manage my time is I'm very particular about time. I will not waste. I was telling Antara Kulkarni, if I have some 7 minutes were left, I said, I just want to mute and I will do my email. So every minute I use it very properly. And that's the reason it's possible to do. And you have to put priority in your mind, which is my priority, how I should do. And over a period of time, you learn. If you want to do excellence, then you have to work hard for that. Work hard is to manage your time. Yeah.
All right, ma'am. Fair enough. So next up, we have Rahul Krishna Kumar. Rahul, why don't you ask a question?
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. Actually,
good evening.
My sister has a question for you, who is also an engineer.
Hi, good evening, ma'am. My name is Anisha.
So, what's your name?
Anisha.
Anisha,
Yeah, so I graduated with a bachelor's in chemical engineering in 2018, and now I'm working in the oil and gas industry. So before I ask my question, I'd just like to tell you that women like you are an inspiration for all of us to step into industries where we don't see women usually. So thank you for that. And my question is, when I joined the industry, I noticed there's such a huge gap between the engineering curriculum that is in universities versus what we actually work.
And that internship, like medical college, they always have a degree. After finishing a degree, you have to work 1 year in the hospital as the intern, and we don't have in engineering that kind. We have 4 years degree, then you are out, then you have a job. So every.
Good evening, ma'am.
You're from which part of Maharashtra or which part of Karnataka?
I'm from Bijapur, Karnataka.
Very much. I've seen your village. Okay.
So, ma'am,
all your Galgali families are famous for Sanskrit language, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Do you know Sanskrit?
Ma'am, not very much, just a little bit.
Yeah. Your mom is sitting next to you, I suppose. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. My mom and my grandmother, both of them are here.
Yeah, I can hear what they're talking about me. Chalo, tell me, Raghav.
So, ma'am, my question was similar to the last one. What is there any tips which you can give to us? How do we transition from the college life to industry life? Because when we transition from school to college, it was like a big jolt to us. So, how do we make it easier for us?
But at least for you, it was a big jolt. For me, it was a different world. You know, I was from Kannada medium school, and I learned physics, chemistry, math all in Kannada, and then I go to college and everything is English. I said, am I landed up in some other country or what? I thought. From college to professional life, you should learn the following things. Number one, your work ethics should be very good. That is very important, which nobody bothers to tell you in school, in college. Ethics means nobody seeing me, so I'm lazy. No. Whether somebody is seeing you or not, you must do your work. That is a work ethic. And what is your duty? You must do diligently. That is second. Third thing is you should be very good in communication. You want to tell something and you are not able to tell. Or you want to write something but you are not able to convey. So these are difficulties. And that I think is the soft skill which every college should teach students. Then some soft skills like writing applications or working in a teamwork or communication, proper communication, attending an interview and telling and learning some work ethics. Please remember, people who play tennis may excel, but they play for themselves. People who play cricket, they play for the team. And industry is like playing a cricket. You have to work in a team. However good you are, however bad you are, you should know how to work in a team. And that has to be probably introduced in college level, all these things which will help you to end up in an industry.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, ma'am, cricket seems to be a favorite sport of yours, from what I can see.
No, I see. I'm fond of every game: hockey, cricket, badminton, everything.
Did you play, ma'am?
No.
Okay.
I come from a small town known as Hubli, and it was about 60 years back, 55 years back. And I come from a particular community known as a Madhva, extremely orthodox. And Hubli, we don't have a lot of water. Water is a scarcity. How will I learn swimming? And girls wearing half pant and playing all these things, I think people would throw stones at my father more than me. So we never had. Women were not supposed to go to engineering college. Women were not supposed to cut their hair. Women were not supposed to question anything. The women had so many restrictions in my time. Women were not to be seen. They should be. They should be almost all the time inside. They should learn first cooking. They should obey everybody. So that was the time like that, not like today. So forget about playing anything. We couldn't play anything. Yes, next.
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, we have one question from our council member, Marnav. So he's asking, so he says, hello, ma'am. I really enjoyed your series on mythology where you narrated the stories of God and goddesses in a simple manner, but it often goes against popular science. So what are your views on it?
Science and mythology are both different. Okay, don't connect that. Science is reasoning. Science is testing. Science is truth and truth alone. Satya. Science is always Satya and truth alone. Okay, my brother is a scientist actually in astrophysics by the name Srinivas Kulkarni. He's a very well-known astrophysicist. He says, look, in mythology, you can make whatever stories you want. God got upset. In science, we can't say atom got upset. We can't say. Okay, we can say at the most, it can leave the heat. There is a friction, there is a heat. Science is entirely different. Mythology is, in a way, corrupted version of history of our country. Or also mythology is a part of our culture. Mythology tells you many practical ways, practical difficulties of life. For example, whenever you have difficulties, you say, oh, I have only difficulties. Nobody has difficulties, only I have. All of you feel the same way, I'm sure. Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am, of course.
We always say, we have difficulties. Look at Sudhamurthy. She doesn't have any difficulties. I have my own difficulties. Okay, you have your own difficulties. But people will never see your difficulties. Whenever I have difficulties, I think of Rama and Krishna. I consider them, they were great human beings born on this earth and they were great people, and we consider them Lord God later. They had tremendous difficulties. Look at Krishna the day he was born. He has to abandon his parents, brought up in somebody's house. He has to kill his maternal uncle. Then he has to go for a war. And then he ran away from that called Ranchhodji. So all these indicating that Krishna himself, whom we call God today, and the great man underwent so many difficult things in his life. So is Rama. I'm just giving an example. So when I look at their difficulties, I always feel our difficulties are less. When great people come to this life as human beings, they have to undergo difficulties. My difficulties are reduced. My mythology gives me a strength. Mythology gives me a faith, saying that, look, like today is the Dasara. We give the Shami leaves to everybody. There's a story why Shami leaves were given. Okay, it is also a tradition. Mythology is a tradition. It is more of our belief and faith. It is part of our culture. And particularly when you are difficulties, it helps you a lot. Whereas if you are pursuing truth and truth alone, it is science. Both are different compartments. Don't mix them. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. So next up, we have Ritvik Sachdeva. Ritvik, why don't you ask your question?
Yeah, I thought Ritik Roshan is asking.
That would be nice,
ma'am. Ritik, ask any question in Bollywood, I can tell you.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I would like to ask you that.
Beta, where are you? Are you in Bombay? Are you in Pune? Where are you? Are you in Punjab?
Ma'am, I am from Rajasthan. I'm in Kota right now.
You are right now in Kota. Kota is famous for IIT training, no?
Yes, ma'am. Everything IIT need, everything.
Yeah. Still, they are doing well.
Thank you so much.
I heard Kota is not doing that well nowadays. It has shifted to Hyderabad. Someone was telling me. I said, I really do not know. I'm not in that race also. Okay, tell me, Kota must be very, very warm now.
Yes, ma'am. Not much right now, but like there is some
October, no? Yeah. Yeah. Tell me.
Ma'am, I would like to know that as a reader, what is your favorite genre?
I like to read everything. Everything. Travelogue, biographies, history, everything. I like to read. Every day I read. But maybe in particular between two books, I prefer non-fiction. Fiction I hardly read. I prefer to read history more than anyone else because it is a fact of life which has been written and you have to learn. We can learn a lot from that. I think history. Yes, next.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So next we have Chetan Reddy.
Reddy garu, manavallu. You're from?
I'm from Bangalore.
Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm from Bangalore.
Bangalore, Reddy.
Bangalore.
Ayyo, Kannadalli maatadabodallappa. Why manavallu then? Tell me, Reddy garu.
Ma'am, is there any decision in your life or in a career which you regret now? Oh, I should not have made that time.
Yeah. Of course, I'm a human being. I'm not superhuman being. Like, I wish I could have learned swimming. I always feel, some chances were there, but somehow I never made up my mind. I said I was scared or chances were very less. And even today, I'm scared of water. So when my children were young, they used to say, you want to get anything from Mama, put her in the water. She will agree for whatever we say, she will agree. So water, I would have learned. I wish I would have learned a little more. I would have learned swimming. Also yoga. We never had yoga, actually. If there was a yoga teacher, I would have loved to, but we didn't have yoga. That I regret. Then I feel I should have, I by-hearted Kannada dictionary when I was very young. I should have by-hearted English dictionary also. I did not do that. I said, why? It's not needed. Kannada is more than enough. But it's better to know. Whenever you are by-hearted, both it would have been okay. So there are some things like that. But major decisions, I don't have regret. Like, joining engineering, I don't have regret. Or marrying Narayan Murthy when he did not have a job, I don't have a regret. Or starting Infosys Foundation, I don't have a regret. Or leaving my career and not joining Infosys. Initially, I used to feel very bad. I did not do, but I don't have regret now. But major, I don't have. Minor, I do have. Small things like that.
Oh, okay, ma'am.
Okay. Chalo, next.
So, ma'am, we're getting quite serious. If I may ask a question. So, you're known to be a film buff. So, what is your favorite movie?
You can't ask me this question because I have hundreds of films which I like. Tell me which era you want.
my God, ma'am, which era? Okay, fine. Let's see. Maybe
50 to 60, 50 to 60, 60 to 70. It goes on varying.
something
So
that
I'll
I
tell
know.
you.
So how about 90s to 2000s?
No, okay, I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you some of them which I like. In 50s and 60s, there was black and white, and I think I like the Insaniyat, Dilip Kumar's movie in 1956. I have seen Madhumati in 1958. I have seen. Then I have seen Mughal-e-Azam when I was a teenage girl and missed the college and went and saw. Then I used to love Rajesh Kumar's movies. I saw Aradhana, Kati Patang, all his movies I have seen. Then I like Hrithik Roshan. I have seen most of his movies. Then of late, Nawazuddin Sharif I like. Then the Amir Khan I like a lot. Then who else? Shah Rukh Khan's most of the movies I have seen. Sunny Deol's movies I have seen. A lot I have seen. Heroine Vaijantimala I have seen most of her movies. Then Wahida Rahman's movies I have seen. Meena Kumari's I have seen. Mausami Chatterjee's I have seen. Amitabh Bachchan I have seen. Jaya Badri I used to like her a lot. I have seen most of her movies. So I see a lot of movies. And again, I know songs I different eras, like Dil Dhadak Hai Raha Hai Abija. That is from Madhumati 1958 I like. Then Janak Janak Payal Baje, Shantaram's movies I have seen. A lot I have seen. And I continue to see a lot. I like Telugu movies a lot more actually nowadays because they have a very good theme. I like Telugu movies. I love Marathi movies a lot. Of late, they are coming with very good movies. Fuge, Sulagna Sauda, once more Mangalashtak, many things, So I enjoy movies. Madhuri Dixit I have seen a lot. Okay, tell me now.
Wow, man, that's quite a collection.
Yeah, Devanand movies I have seen. Raj Kapoor I have seen. A lot.
Wow. Okay, so now we can move on to Amey Pathak for a question.
Amey is from Pune?
Ma'am, I am from Indore.
Yeah. Okay, our Rahul Dravid's place. Okay, chalo.
Yeah, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I want to ask you, after working for so many years, what are your goals now? What are the things you look up to now? What's on your bucket list?
Actually, to be honest with you, beta, I don't have a bucket at all. Forget the list. I don't have a bucket. Okay, but I would like to work. I would like to continue to work up to the last minute. If God gives me health, then it is for the poor people. Because that is always my dream, to work for poorest of the poor people all the time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Amey is nothing but Ganpati is known as Amey, I suppose.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
So thank you for that. Next up, we have Aditya Singh again. Aditya, go ahead and ask a question.
Ma'am, good afternoon again. So over all the answers, I'm now starting to get confused. What is more important or impactful on your writing? You have so many experiences, so many languages of knowledge, and you read and watch so many films as well. So what actually goes into writing a story? Is it a combination, or does experience matter more, real life experiences? How does?
Yeah, actually, I prefer to write real life experiences which are unimaginably different than what we imagine. There is no limit for that. And I don't try to, okay, I have to write 50 words a day, 150 words a week or something, nothing. When the stories happen, it comes to me and I can't keep quiet. That time I write. And my experiences actually in the practical life has made me to write all these, books. I have tremendous experience on the field, with the language, with the people, with the culture, with the music, with the folk art, with animals, many things. So any combination which makes me to write, I will write. Next.
That's
Thank you,
amazing, ma'am. Thank you.
So, ma'am, next we have Athira Srijit. Athira, go ahead.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening, beta.
You mentioned that you want to work for the poorest of the poor. And is there anything or anyone who inspired you to start all your social work?
I think you should read this book, How I Taught My Grandmother to Read. In that, there is one chapter known as Amma, What is Your Duty? My daughter asked me, what's your duty in life? Please read that. That made me to start social work. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So thank you. All right. So I think Samida might have some questions. Samida,
no, what about Saksham? No, I want to talk to Saksham Jain.
Okay.
Very unusual name. Saksham.
Hello, ma'am. Jai Jinendra.
Yeah, I liked your name, Saksham.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
You tell your mom.
I'm from Bhopal itself.
Bhopal, chaliye.
Ma'am, my question is similar to the previous question. Like you do a lot of social work, and it's all about giving. So there are some people which are needy, but many a times there are people who are just fooling ourselves. Like we are helping them, but they are cheating us. So like that hurts, nah? Might have hurt you. So like what keeps you motivated to keep helping them even when they might have cheated you? There are many people who are faking that, and we are still doing social work. Like that's the major thing which hinders normal people from doing social work.
Yeah.
Like, there might be people who are not actually needy.
I will not be cheated by people because I have 24-year experience, and most of the time we know what the person is, what the project is, and that's called experience. So out of 100, 99.99 times we are right. In case somebody cheats, rarely people can cheat us. If they cheat, I said, okay, 0.01% failure, you should take it. So no problem. Okay. So we have many methods to know that they're faking or they're doing this or wrong things, because we have a table of organizations which are very good, which are medium, which are, question all those things, questionable, etc. So we don't be cheated that easily. We talk to people, we find out. And if 1% were cheated, it's okay, because 99 marks you get, no? So we have to accept that.
Okay,
so when you want to give money, you should always search for a right organization and give money. And that is the reason when I'm working, a lot of people would love to give us money because they think we are the right people. We don't cheat people, and people would love to give money. Suppose in some organizations, if you do not know, don't give money. Check the organizations, what are their credibility. Like Ramakrishna Ashram, they do a good job. Chinnamaya organization, they do a good job. So check the organization before you give money. They don't cheat.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ma'am, next up we have questions from YouTube.
We have only 7 minutes left. So find out, because 4 to 5 is the session, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
so I just wanted to ask you, since we have a lot of questions, would it be possible for you to fit in till 5:30, or will you be busy with work? It's completely up to you.
5:30 may be difficult because I have some other work. Maybe up to 5:15 I can take.
Okay, ma'am. Sounds good.
Okay, so
second, don't repeat the question then, and one question per person. Okay.
Yes.
Samida, you ask questions, so give chance to someone else.
No, ma'am.
I'm reading out the question from YouTube comments.
Okay, fine.
So Rucha Kulkarni is asking, what do you expect from students, especially coming from IISER?
Why especially from coming from IISER? I don't have such things. I consider you people have got a very good opportunity, great institute, because we have worked in IISER Pune, and there's IISER Tirupati. I know about IISER because I'm aware of the science faculties in India. So it's a great opportunity, great campus you people will have, and make use of it and come out with some original work and bring name to our country and do a good research. That's what I want to tell you. Okay. Next. Hello.
Samida, I think she had some more questions. Yeah.
Next up, Sonam Kulkarni is asking, how does one go about writing a children's novel?
I've written one actually. You require a lot of imagination for that. You should become a child of that age. Then see the one, the different eye. I've written one novel known as, what is that novel? The Mystery of the Lost Temple. Okay, please read that and give me your feedback on that. It's a different genre. The way you have to write is different. Everything is different actually. So when children book you write, you should become like a child. And then you will get that ideas of a child can think. Then you have to write it. Next on, Kriti Panchal is asking,
what do you think? What hits the readers more? Great vocabulary with powerful words, or a simple language which can reach them easily?
You as a reader should tell me, because I'm a writer after all. For me, everything is nice. As a reader, you should tell me what makes you to read a book. Is it a great vocabulary and great English, or simple vocabulary and convincing thought? You should tell us, not me. Because I don't write for readers. I write for myself. I enjoy it. Readers should give me that feedback. Okay. Next.
So next up we have Arjun Mane. He's asking, ma'am, how did you decide to write the book Mahashweta based on people's biased and wrong views on disease leukoderma?
This I wrote about 35 years back, or 37 years back. I wrote this book. Today, if I have to write, I will write, but in a different way. So in our society, mental illness and illness of the skin, cosmetic illness are considered very bad, and last life, some karma, girma, everything will talk. But it is curable sometimes it may not be, but it can happen. So one should not take it that kind of a stand. And I saw some people in 40 years back having leukoderma and suffering, and how people looked down upon them. That came in my mind, and then I wrote that book.
Okay, ma'am. These were some of the questions from YouTube. We will continue with the people on Zoom now.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So next up, we have Shreya Joshi. Shreya, go ahead and ask a question.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank FAB for organizing this amazing session. So my question to you was that as a social worker or as a writer, do you have anyone who has inspired you a lot into doing new stuff and taking new things?
Poor people actually inspire me. When I look at them, I always feel I have a duty towards them, and I must do. Not individual, but poverty in India. That makes me look, I have a duty towards my country, my society, and I should do that.
And that's very inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you.
Soham, sorry, I'll be skipping this since you already asked a question and we're running slow on time. So Rita, why don't you go next?
Good evening, ma'am. Extremely elated that you're taking the question. So my question was regarding a story you had written in Sahyadri Hills, Lesson in Humility, ma'am.
Yeah.
So you had outlined a very important message about give when you take and do not give without taking. So I just wanted to know that did you ever get the chance of going back to the same village in Sahyadri Hills? And if so, did you really take what was given to you, and did you give again?
I might have gone, but those things I don't remember after that. For example, I do work in many tribal area where people are so different and such a large heart they have. So I do work, but I don't remember after I went and what they did. This is about 24 at initial 1996 or 97 incident. After 25 years, I won't remember. The old man is still there. No, I will not be able to know. So I do work in the tribal area, but I do go. May not be the same area. Maybe go the next area. May not be the same village. Because if the village is doing well, then one of my assistants will go. I may not go. So I rather go to the new area. That way I do. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So next we have Kohua K with a question.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I was getting really inquisitive about your next book. If any, could you please share something about it?
Yeah, it's going to come first week of November for Diwali time. This book is one of the series of the books. If you remember, I wrote a book, Grandma's Bags of Stories. For children. It's a sequel, actually, it's coming. It's Grandparents' Bags of Stories in a COVID time. Okay. In COVID time, the grandchildren come home, and grandmother tells stories and helps people, and that is known as the Grandparents' Back Story.
Okay, thank you,
no. Yeah. And also one more book is going to come by December, Christmas. That is my dog Gopi. You may be knowing Gopi's Diaries. Anyone knows here? Anyone know here about Gopi? Yeah, the Gopi's Diaries Part 2 is going to come.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
I'm very excited for that. So next we'll have Shivangi with a question.
Yes. Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, this question has been asked earlier, but actually, I want to know, based on your experience, how do you understand that the person is needy or not based on financial help? Because now, at present, we don't earn money. So when we are helping to people, situations come when we need to give money. So how do we decide? Actually, it becomes very difficult at that time.
Now you're all students. You get money either a scholarship or parents will give money, right? Am I right? Am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, like I understand that.
Yeah. So if you have to help people, do it physically now. Don't do monetary help. Like weekend you can help poor people for reading English, teaching mathematics. There are 2 or 3 subjects where most poor children fail. One is mathematics, other one is English. Third is science. Yes, or second is science, third is English. So if you can do any physical work for the time being, you do. That get involved in your physical, in social work, but physically. And over a period of time, you will come to know whom to give, whom not to give. Don't give large amount, give small amount. Even though you are cheated, small amount will go. But best example is you do physical work, and people don't like to do physical work. They just give 200 rupees and keep quiet. Don't do that way. So instead, you say, okay, I'll buy a book and give. Instead, I'll buy a dress and give. That's what I want to tell you as a student. Later, you can change. Once you are 30, by the time you have known the world, so you'll be different person. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. So then we have a question from Hitaishi Desai saying, if you had to describe your life using one quote, what would it be?
I'm not that great person to quote a line or something. I really do not know. I don't know, because I feel I have done my work. That's all. To quote in one line about my life, I don't know. I really do not know. Maybe if you insist, then Bahujana Hitaya, Bahujana Sukhaya. Help many people, let many people can be happy. That is it I can think of.
That's beautiful, ma'am. Very, very fitting. So next we have Subhashish Mahalik. These are all from YouTube, by the way. So he's saying, did you ever receive any negative response from the readers for any of your writing?
Yeah.
If so, how did you take it?
Take it easy, yeah. Why in this life everybody should take positive to you? Some people talk negative about you. Some people say, oh, you are not a writer. Somebody writes for you. There's a ghost writer for you. People suspect that, can you imagine? When I was 20 years back, I used to feel very upset. Now I say, let them tell. It is not truth, no. See, you give me a gift. I don't want to take it. I'll give the gift back to you. It doesn't affect you, Same way. They want to give me a gift. I don't want to accept it. So, many people write so many negative things about me. Somebody wrote to me, I was so surprised that I make it compulsory that whosoever joins Infosys should read my book, one copy they have to buy, which is totally false. Infosys is a different company and my foundation is different. I hardly go there. I don't even know who are the employees. But people talk like that because people in general do not, they have the habit, if somebody is successful, there must be some dal mein kala hai. Aisa kaisa hota hai. There must be something hiding. People have that tendency. Just look at them and say, it's okay, yaar. People can talk anything. But if you are not, why do you worry? So I don't worry.
That's a good, nice motto for living. Don't worry.
Yeah, let them talk. See, that is there. Kuch to log kahenge, logo ka kaam hai kahna.
Yes. Really?
That is from Amar Prem, Rajesh Khanna and Sharmila Tagore in 1973, I think. Okay.
You really know your Bollywood, I must say. Anyway, so next is Krishna Gawande says, I really love reading your books. I wanted to ask, how do you realize that you have found your purpose in life? And when you do realize it, how does it feel?
Actually, I'll tell you a very funny thing. Read this book. Antara people should not think I'm sitting here and selling my books. Okay, my books are sold otherwise also.
No, ma'am, we're not worried about that.
There is a book I have written known as 3000 Stitches. Actually, if possible, please read or download and read. E-book you can buy and read. There is a chapter. The very first chapter is 3000 Stitches. I used to always wonder. I'm a daughter of a doctor. Okay, my father was a doctor. I come from middle class family. I don't come from a rich family. And I got married to Narayan Murthy, who did not have a job. The money came later part of my life. When this much money came, I used to ask God, Why did you make me rich? I don't have any. I mean, what is the purpose of this money? Why, where it should be used? I used to think about it. Many people work hard. Many people open company. Why we became successful and why we got money. When I started working for the Devadasis, the poor people of Karnataka, and that chapter talks about 3,000 stitches, and 3,000 of them I changed in 18 years. It took 18 long years for me to work with them. And the day came when they came, there was a get together. That day they told me, Akka in Kannada means sister. Akka, you should talk. And I'm an extempore speaker, I could not speak. I only told, if God gives me, there's a famous quote from Mahabharata, Natvam Kamai Rajyam. That means if you want to give me another life, I don't want kingdom, I don't want beauty, I don't want money. If at all God, you want to give me one more life, then I want a soft heart and a strong hand so that I can wipe the tears of others. That moment I realized why God gave me money. Until that, this question was always with me, why God gave me money. And that time I became so satisfied inside that I was born to work for these 3,000 women who were in prostitution, brought them back. And that made me so happy and contented. I said, no more questions to God. That my purpose was this, probably God has decided.
That was really beautiful. Thank you so much for that. So ma'am, in a similar vein, someone called Genda Fool asks, you have worked for the upliftment of Devadasis. The Devadasi community was the custodian of classical music and dance for a large part of our history. Many famous musicians and dancers like M.S. Subbalakshmi, Gauhar Jan, Abdul Karim Khan were Devadasis. Now that Devadasis are leaving their traditional lifestyle, will this art be lost?
See, you look at history of India, there are a set of people who were dedicated to Lord in the temple, and that community known as the Devadasi. They were experts in fine arts, music, dance, painting, literature, whatever it is. We get the earliest inscription in Badami, 1,500 years back. It says, Vina Podi was the dearest, she was the Hriday Vallabha, or Hridayeshwari of the king, and she donated 800 acres of land, etc. She was very rich Devadasi. There's one more lady comes and she says, I have done a Kaumudi Utsava in Sanskrit. I am a Shamala Saraswati, that means I'm a dark Saraswati. She was also Devadasi. But when Britishers came to India, and then the Devadasi Act was passed, that there was no longer there was the temple tradition of Devadasi. They were exploited by many people in the village. The tradition stopped about 100 years back or 80, I do not know when it stopped. Then they were without jobs because they used to get money from the temple, and temple only started not getting any money. Then where they will get? They were not educated, and they got into this village prostitution, and then Kamatipura later. So now that in South India, yes, Swami Subbalakshmi, etc., many people came. But I'm talking about certain other portion of Karnataka where they did not get an opportunity at all to exhibit their talent. They went to manual labor or other lower jobs. So today, such academies, good academies, Lalitakala Academy, Music Academy, Dance Academy, and public also respects. And many people who are learning, they may not be getting from the temple, but they get it from the government and from the society. So the art or the tradition of performing arts is still there in India. Now it is not limited to Devadasis. It is open to everyone today.
Thank you so much, man. That was really wonderful to know. So guys, out of time constraint, we'll only have one last question. So I'm going to call over Harshal for this last question. Harshal, please go ahead.
Thank you. Namaste, ma'am. Thank you for taking out the time to interact with us. My question was, what will your words of guidance and a message be to the youth, the present youth of the country, on a personal level, on a professional level, regarding the nation, the society, and what would you say to us, to the present youth? Thank you.
I tell youngsters, look, the country depends on you. We are very fortunate to have young generation in India. Unlike Europe, only oldies are there. But quality of your education, quality of your work should be appreciated anyway. That means you should be very ethical. Your quality of work should be very good. You should bring whatever you do your level best. Love your country, because this is a country which gives you so many opportunities. Don't get any wrong habits, wrong company, wrong thinking. Concentrate on your work and helping others. Be a good citizen, and next generation, you people are ambassador to the whole world. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. I enjoyed the session.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was an absolute pleasure to talk to you, and I can tell that all of us had a wonderful time interacting with you. You know, you've been so humble, you've been so encouraging of our questions, and you've really, indulged us this time. And you are an inspiration to several people from all walks of life.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for gracing us over here.
Okay. I wish you all the best, beta. All of
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
All
We'll
of you.
always remember this talk, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you, everybody else, for coming to the talk. We hope you had a good time. Yeah, that's it.